we have the original slasher, the escaped Mike Myers. Michael Myers right in our studio. I'm a little worried, but I have security standing by. Thanks for coming in, Tony. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I have to ask you about 10,000 questions, starting with when you were doing that movie. First of all, what year was that?
1978.
That's like right. Do you think that sparked the genre for the slasher films that followed?
No, it definitely did. Yeah, no, it definitely just did a whole nother area of type of horror movies. You know,
because from what I understand, the studios weren't even that interested in putting it out because they were like, oh, that's not going to really sell.
No, that's exactly right. It was a $350,000 indie budget movie, B flick. You know, that I didn't even really want to do.
And I understood they had to produce it themselves, which is interesting, and finally got it out. So
right.
Last Laugh is on the studios. So you didn't want to do it. Let's get into that. How'd you get the role? How'd it go down?
It was pretty funny. You know, I was a 21-year-old starving, typical actor sleeping on a couch at my buddy's place trying to make it. And my agent called me up and she says, hey, man, you know, I've got this low-budget, $350,000 B horror movie flick where they play some psycho. And the movie's called Halloween. And I said, you know, no. I mean, in 1978, a horror movie called Halloween was about the corniest thing I'd ever heard of anyways, you know?
Right.
I mean, who does that? You know, it's so stupid, right? So she goes, well, hey, look, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. And I'm like, well, who's that? I didn't even know. She explained it. I said, well, no, I don't want to do it. And she says, well, Donald Pleasance is in it. I'm like, you're kidding me. That's not true. I mean, because he was a classic British actor. Like
finally trained in the whole thing,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. And I said, there's no way he's in this movie. She said, yeah, he is. And I go, she goes, he's signed on already. And I said, well, okay, I got an interview for it then. I got to go check this out.
All right. Yeah. So it was the other cast members that actually kind of turned you around as far as making that decision. Now, you talked about the budget being $350,000. It sounds like a lot of money to us, but in Hollywood standards, that's pennies.
Yeah, it's pittance.
And from what I heard, now tell me if I'm wrong, because you read stuff on the internet, you never know what's really true.
Right.
I heard that you guys had to go out and like buy your own wardrobe.
Oh yeah. Independent movies, you know, they don't supply wardrobes. I mean, they supplied, you know, the boots for me and the coveralls for me, you know, because I wouldn't own something like that on my own, you know.
Right. Tell us about the mask too, because I heard there's a good story behind that.
Well, yeah, kind of a good story. My agent, she just said that, you know, all she knew was that I was playing some psycho. So when I interviewed with John Carpenter and Erwin Yablans, the producer, you know, we just talked, and they still didn't bring up a mask. So, okay, it's time for me to start filming, and I go to the set, which is a house in Hollywood, and this girl comes up with some, you know, airborne army boots, coveralls, and a mask, and a jar of Vaseline. Yeah, okay. I'm like, I look at the mask and I go, what's this? What's this for? She goes, oh, you have to wear this in the movie. I'm like, I have to wear a mask? You know, because I was an actor.
Right.
You know? And I said, but I needed the money, you know.
Yeah.
And I figured the movie would only last about a week or two in the drive-in, so I wouldn't have to worry about it. But I asked her what the Vaseline was for, and she goes, you know, because back then I had a lot of hair. You know, unlike now, you know.
Oh,
so she goes, well, this is 100% latex, this mask, and if you don't put Vaseline in your hair, because I had thick curly hair, like wavy hair, she goes, it'll tear out like Velcro.
Ew.
So I said, oh, I see. So I had to put Vaseline in my hair.
And I understand it was actually a William Shatner mask that they had to just cut and spray paint and throw it on you. We're talking low budget.
Really low budget. The story about that was Tommy Lee Wallace was in charge of editing and set decoration and general helping her out on the film, of course. But they knew they wanted a mask, but they didn't know what kind of mask they wanted. Mm-hmm. So he went out shopping to find something. And they didn't want to use the mask that Michael Myers has on when he's 6 years old. So they used, so he went shopping around and he saw that mask, and it was so creepy in a way that it was plain. You know, it was nothing to it, not a scary face or anything, you know. And it was a mold from a Star Trek episode.
Too funny.
Yeah.
It's the little tidbits in Hollywood. All right. We only have a couple seconds left. Real quickly, I just want to ask, has anybody ever come trick-or-treating at your house dressed like you?
Oh, yeah. You know what? That's a good question.
That is hilarious.
It is, especially when they're the older ones where they're like 12 or 13 years old, so they're a little taller, you know?
And they have no idea.
Not a clue.
You got to get a kick out of that.
I do, I laugh.
And then lastly, you mentioned the house that it was filmed in Hollywood. Of course, being a big film buff, I know where that is. It's either on Orange or Genesee Street.
You're right, hon, it's on Orange.
Right,
yeah.
And here's what's interesting about that. It's a little area of Hollywood that happens to look kind of Midwestern. On a couple streets over is another house exterior that's kind of famous from the show Happy Days, which I believe there's a connection there as well.
Oh, you're tricky, aren't you? Yeah, Erin Moran, who played Joni Cunningham, is my little sister. Yeah.
I love it. Full circle. It all comes back together, doesn't it? It is a real honor to have you in our studio. I have seen you many times. You have given me the heebie-jeebies more nights than you know.
Well, I appreciate it.
Tony, thanks. And hey, of course, you guys can go see Tony. He is going to be at the Creepy Hollow this weekend. It is a fantastic haunted house for adults. You can bring your kids, but they're going to be spooked for sure. Check it out. They have swampy hay rides, a psycho circus bus tour, and of course, you can meet Michael Myers if you dare.